Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mack, and Harrison.
Alrighty, well, now our long-anticipated Central Division preview is underway. Unfortunately, Mr. Jackson Gross will not be on this recording, so we cannot hear about how the Blackhawks are going to somehow make the playoffs this season. But nonetheless,
They're not.
We will touch on that later in the episode. To begin, we are going to read you guys the division odds winner. So we're going to start with the Colorado Avalanche, who come in as the favorites at plus 140 to win the division. The Dallas Stars plus 220. The Minnesota Wild plus 500. The Winnipeg Jets plus 1,000. The St. Louis Blues plus 1,600. The Predators plus 1,600. The Blackhawks plus 9,500. And the Yotes plus 9,500.
Let's go, baby. I'm rocking my Yotes jersey if you're not watching on YouTube. I will say right off the bat, kind of funny that the Yotes have the same odds as the Blackhawks and they don't have Connor Bedard. Just something to think about.
They do have Logan Cooley. I will give them that.
Who is a very nice player over there. All right, we are going to start with the Colorado Avalanche. Their over-under this season for team total points is projected at 106.5. That comes to us from FanDuel. Last season, they won the Central Division with 109 points in a very tight race with Dallas, who ended the season with 108. They lost in 7 games in the first round to the Seattle Kraken after leading the series 2-1. They had a lot of injuries throughout the year. We all know about Landeskog and what he's been through in the offseason. The Avalanche get Nick's favorite player, Ryan Johansson. Jonathan Drouin reunited with his Moosehead teammate, Nate Mack. They also added Miles Wood, Ross Colton, and Thomas Tatar. However, they did lose longtime veteran Eric Johnson, JT Compher, Evan Rodriguez, Lars Eller, and Alex Newhook. I think
those subtractions are nothing to sneeze at, honestly.
They are not.
They are not. And that begs the question. We all know the Avalanche odds-on favorite to win the division. They're also the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup. What are your guys' thoughts on the Avalanche making a cup run? Because at this point, I think we can all agree it's cup or bust.
Certainly not, if you ask me. I think they're not going to win the Stanley Cup, at least. Maybe the division. I don't know. Maybe ask me again at the end of this episode once I've talked through all the teams. But I mean, my gut would be, I don't think they're a shoe-in for the division. I definitely think Stars could give them a run for the money. Cup, I don't know. I don't really get why. I mean, yeah, they won the Cup, and then last year too, everyone was like, "Oh, they're so good, they're the favorite." To me, as soon as they lost Kemper after the Cup run, it was kind of like, "All right, they're good, but they're immediately just not the team that won the Stanley Cup." That's how I saw it.
They're definitely in, I think you got it 100% right when you said they're in cup or bust mode, because you got to win right now. And we all know that's how it goes in the salary cap era. We all know it's how it goes in today's NHL. I don't see these guys getting another Stanley Cup this year. There is just something missing from this lineup. Mac, I also think you nailed it when you said these departures were nothing to sneeze at. I think those are some big misses for them. I think they brought in some good pieces, but I don't necessarily think they completely fill the holes that were left with those departures.
And those are the kind of depth guys that really make a difference too. We always talk about the third line test. Some of those guys are definitely third line caliber guys who can help share some of the load, take some of the load off of their stars, or fill in for some of their stars when they're injured. I think they did an okay job replacing most of them. I would say the additions Harry read out are also pretty solid for the most part, but there's also some questionable guys in there like Tatar, like Drouin, like Johansson, who all of them, when they're playing their best, are excellent hockey players, but have in the past, been very streaky, very hot and cold.
I think the other big thing to think about here is, I know we've talked about Landeskog until we're blue in the face with this whole injury thing, but that guy brings so much not only to this team with his point production and his on-ice play, but it's the locker room stuff. Like, that guy is one of the best captains in the NHL, bar none. And you can't tell me that having him out for a whole season won't affect that locker room somehow.
This team has a whole lot of potential, and that might sound quite obvious, right? They're the odds-on cup favorite. I definitely think they're going to be a playoff team. I mean, I'll start with Nate Mack. Got to give him props, right? Like, he's, in my opinion, probably the second best player in the world behind McDavid, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth. Was unreal last season. I believe he led the league in 5v5 points, and he missed like 12 to 14 games, which is outrageous. Still scored over 40 goals. I mean, the dude is unbelievable. Same with Rantanen, third in the league in goals. So not worried about the star players producing. Makar, we all know what he can do. This Drouin thing, I can't tell if it's getting more hype than it should. He hasn't really worked out anywhere. I think maybe in Tampa he had a good season here or there, but he reunites with his junior teammate Nate Mack. Nick, what do you think Drouin can do this year?
I mean, if we get prime Nate Mack and J-Dog Mooseheads hockey, I mean, we're all in for a real treat here, boys. But I don't know if that's what we're going to get. I think Drouin's had obviously he's had some injury problems. He's had some health problems. So I don't necessarily think that's what we're expecting here. I think, if you've got a guy that can get maybe 15, 20 goals on McKinnon's wing, I think that is exactly what they need out of Jonathan Drouin this season.
Something interesting that I think I'm usually quick with this team. I already kind of mentioned it when they lost Kemper. I lost a little bit of faith in them. I've been quick in the last year-ish to say their goaltending is not up to snuff. However, I think I should mention that Alex Georgiev had quite a season last year. He was 40, 16, and 6, save percentage 919, and had 5 shutouts. So I mean, he kind of proved me wrong, proved some people wrong that he can be the guy. So I don't know that goaltending is going to be a huge issue, but I tend to have more of an issue with this team with their bottom 6. And then, like, once you get into that third pairing of defense too. And I mean, what team can't you say about that their third pairing isn't up to snuff or whatever? That's not the worst problem to have. But I mean, Jack Johnson, Samuel Girard, mostly talking about Jack
Girard's kind of
here.
nasty. Yeah.
I'm mostly talking about Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. For what it's worth,
playoffs haven't been very kind to him, but
yeah.
I'm glad you touched on the D. I was just curious. I just looked this up on the spot. If you read thehockeywriters.com, I am a big fan of their stuff. They do have the Colorado Avalanche's defensive core ranked 3rd in the league this upcoming season. Yeah. I was going to say, when I look at that D core, that is nasty. That is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
So Jack Johnson's just kind of like camouflaging in there. I mean, he's really the only like pretty bad one, I would say. I feel bad shitting on the guy. It's just
I mean,
it's fine. He went to Michigan.
There we go. All right, I don't feel bad anymore. Okay, the bottom 6 though, I think I think that's valid for me to be a little questionable about now.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm interested to see what Ross Colton can do. A guy who's been there, won the cup, young guy on Tampa. Now he's probably going to get a bigger role here. They bring back Cogliano. I know that when he left, that was like a big locker room detriment. Now he comes back, brings the spirits up. They're a playoff team. I do think that they'll
1,000%.
I think they'll win the division. Mac, I get what you're saying. Like, it's like, they kind of won the cup already, or they got to go back. Like, it seems too easy a little bit. But Nathan McKinnon's a freak, man. I mean, that dude is like a possessed athlete. I don't doubt him for a second.
No, and Rantanen was ridiculous last year too.
Yeah.
I think if McKinnon stays healthy this year, he could easily get 60.
I agree. All right.
Listen, somebody's got to be the guy on this podcast who's not like going to jerk off the best team, though. I have to be. I gotta play a little bit of devil's advocate. So for all those listeners out there who are like, is this guy smoking crack? He doesn't think the Avs are good. I think they're good. All right. Somebody's got to ask.
Somebody's got to do it.
I think they're good. I think they make the playoffs. I don't think they win this division though.
Okay. We'll touch on that a little bit later. I'm going to say they are at, let's do this, over under second round of the playoffs? You think over that, under that, or right at it?
I mean, you're a good odds maker for setting it there, because that's right where I would start to have a question. Like,
Yeah.
I totally think they'll be in the second round, but that's right where I'm like, I don't
Same.
flip a coin if they go further than that.
I'm going over 2.5 playoff rounds. I think they're going to be in the third round. It would not surprise me in the slightest if we had another rematch of McDavid, McKinnon, and we have this insane high scoring series that's like 7-5.
Please.
That would be sick.
Watch
Sign
us
me
just
up.
get another like Bolts Avalanche Cup final again. It's definitely not outside the realm of possibility,
It's
boys.
true.
Yeah, that is true. All right, we're going to move on to a team who I think a lot of people are very big on this season. I would say one of the more popular cup picks as a quote unquote dark horse, the Dallas Stars. Their team total over under is set at 103.5. Last year, they made the Western Conference Finals for the second time in 4 seasons. They beat Minnesota and Seattle before losing to Vegas in 6. Jason Robertson, he proved that he wasn't a fluke the year prior. He had a career year last season with 109 points. Jamie Benn had an awful postseason. Maybe could be a trading bait piece here in this season. We'll see. And then Ottinger, he was unbelievable. Finished 5th in Vezina voting. Was probably the best goaltender in the playoffs, some could argue. I mean, they bring in Matt Duchene, Craig Smith, and Sam Steele. They do lose Max Domi, Luke Glendening, and Colin Miller. I mean, I hate to ask the same question I just asked on the last one, but it's kind of like cup or bust for these guys, no?
I think so. And I think they've got all the pieces in place right now. This is a fun hockey team to watch, especially with all the antics we got from their crowd last year during the end of those regular season games. But there's a lot to be excited about right now if you're a Stars fan. I know some people have some questions about the D. I'd like to remind everyone that Esa Lindell did block 148 shots last year while not being an offensive liability. So
there you go. Big name here for fantasy owners. A guy who had a really, really good rookie campaign, and I would imagine he's going to have another really good season this year. Wyatt Johnson stepped into his own, was really good in the playoffs. I believe he's like 19 going on 20. Guy's super young. I would look for him to have a really good season right now on Daily Faceoff. He's slotted at that second line center role.
yeah, I mean, arguably the best first line in hockey last year too, boys.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like you said, Nick, I start to have a question with the D. It's definitely, I mean, if you're talking about Dallas and Colorado as like the 2 teams that are supposed to be the top teams in the division, to me, this D-core is nowhere near as good as Colorado, and that's where they might have trouble staying, in that same caliber as the Avs. But you make a good point. I mean, they've got offensive weapons out the wazoo. So who am I to say they can't keep up with them? And Jake Ottinger.
Yeah, I mean, he could win the Vezina this year. I would say if you made me gun to my head, take a bet for Vezina, I'd probably pick Ottinger.
Yeah. I like the Duchene ad. I love the Craig Smith ad. That guy is just a fireball running around out there.
I'm going to say something here that might be a hot take. I'm looking at Daily Faceoff. Third line they have right here, Mason Marchment, Tyler Seguin, Matt Duchene. That's the best third line in the NHL.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
It really could be.
So
That's
true.
pretty fucking good. I don't know if you can get much better than that. You've got 2 guys who have put up over 80 points in their career. Then you got a big guy like Mason Marchment, throws hits, shoots, fights. I love it.
Fourth line ain't too shabby too. It's what a fourth line should be. It's like that brand of hockey, Delontre, Foxa, Craig Smith. That's good, man.
So I guess I'll ask you guys this question, same as the Dallas question, and you have to factor in who you think, the teams in the West are, considering Edmonton and some other teams, Vegas, over under 2.5 playoff rounds for the Dallas Stars. I see the wheels turning in Nick's head so fast right now.
Over. I think they get back to the conference finals.
Okay.
I don't know, man, because like you said, like Vegas and Edmonton, and Oh,
It's
fuck.
tough.
There's so many teams in the West. I don't know what the hell to think about too. That
I
we'll
feel
get
like
to
these
later.
guys are just like one solid deadline move away from just having an absurd amount of momentum headed into the postseason.
They need like a crazy defenseman or something.
Yeah.
That's what they're missing.
Yeah.
Like if
Not
Ottawa
that
like
they don't have any good ones, but they need like one more really good defenseman. And
like had Ottawa not jumped on Chikrin if he was still available or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go under 2.5 playoff rounds. I think they're a really good team, but I kind of alluded to it on the last one. Colorado, Edmonton, it's hard to beat, man.
Yeah, I would tend to probably agree with you. I also think that Jamie Benn, this team, I might get some flack for this, but I feel like this team might not figure it out until they get that guy out of there. I just don't know if he's the guy that can like be the leader of this team. I
He
feel
got
like
suspended last year.
Yeah, he did. He does some really dumb shit, man.
That's what
Like
I meant when I said deadline move.
Yeah. Oh man, that's kind of what's holding me back personally.
Yeah, that would be the first guy out of that locker room if I was in charge.
I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. Stars fans might not, but outsiders looking in, I don't think that's a hot take. We will move on to the next team in the Central Division, one who has been stuck in purgatory since the beginning of their existence, the Minnesota Wild. Their team total is set at 97.5 points. Another year, another first-round exit for Minnesota. They were very average in a bunch of offensive categories. They did hang their hat on the fact that they gave up the 5th fewest goals per game and had a top 10 PK last season. They add Pat Maroon and Vinny Lettieri. They lose Matt Dumba, Ryan Reeves, Gustav Nyquist, Sam Steele, Mason Shaw, John Klingberg, and Oscar Sundqvist. I mean, guys, like, what are the Minnesota Wild? I think we had the exact same discussion last year around this time. What is this team? Are they a contender?
And the year before that, we just don't know. And I'm starting to think that maybe they do this on purpose.
I mean, listen, I'm going to start with the goaltending here. Philip Gustafson had a really, really strong season last year. I don't really know what the hell Fleury's deal is. It might be time to hang him up soon for him. The D does not impress me personally. And quickly talking about the forwards, I mean, it's good. There's a lot of weapons. Obviously, Kirill the Thrill, Boldy, Eriksson, very good last year. I like Freddie Gaudreau as a third line center for them. Marcus Johansson, can we talk about how this guy is kind of like if you're going around a Monopoly board and you're like about to get to like the square you need to go, and then you hit something and it's like go back to start and you're like, fuck. Like he just keeps getting like sent back to where he came from, and then like and then he gets traded to like a really good team and he's like, oh my God, I'm gonna win. I'm in game 7 of the Stanley Cup final with the Bruins, and they're like, and you are a Seattle Kraken. Like just brutal for this guy.
Because this is stint number 2 with Minnie, right?
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying.
Is it 2 or 3? I couldn't remember.
No, I think it's 2, but it feels like 3. You get the
you guys will agree with me on this. I think he's like David Perron. He just keeps coming back up somewhere. He's been in St. Louis 3 different times.
So he did 2 stints with the Caps and 2 stints with the Wild.
Yep.
That's crazy.
And then we'll probably go to Buffalo at the deadline. So there's 2 stints with the Sabres.
Probably.
That's so funny.
And to be fair, I mean, the guy gets the job done wherever he goes, in my opinion. I mean,
he was great for the Caps.
Yeah.
Both times.
The other thing is like, he's one of those guys that gets traded, not because no one wants him, but it's because like everyone will take him. Like everyone's like, sure. Yeah, I'll take him. Like,
all right. So when I look at this team, I can't really understand what they are. I think the defense is better than maybe you guys or some of the hockey world is giving them. Our good friend Terry, Terry on Twitter, Brock Faber, I'm sorry. He's been big on him all year. He's like one of their top defensive prospects. We can see what he grows into. Kalen Addison, he was a very big prospect in Pittsburgh before they traded him to Minnie for Jason Zucker. Don't know what he can do, but there's promise there. Brodin, I think, is slept on. I think Spurgeon is always slept on. I don't mind the D. The goaltending, Gustafson, I'm sorry, was great last year. He had a really solid season. I agree with Mac. I don't know about Flower. Offense is where I'm kind of like, I don't know. Ryan Hartman is your first line center. I'm not really big on that.
They have like pieces on offense that are really good. They've got like 4 or 5 like really talented guys, in my opinion. I'm just not sure like all the chemistry is there. Like I don't look at each line and say like that's a good line, that's a good line, that's a good line. I look at it and I'm like, oh, this line has a guy that I like. Oh, that line has a guy I like. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
For Kirill Kaprizov, I will say this. I'm a big fan of this guy. Whenever the Wild are on and there's like an intermission, I will put, them on just to watch him. He is incredibly good. I would say, in my opinion, probably the best left wing in the league right now. In my opinion, you could probably throw Robertson. Maybe if you want to throw Ovechkin, you can do that. But I would say Kirill is definitely my guy. I think that they're a wild card team after looking at him.
They could be, but I really believe that there's a world where if Gustafson doesn't have the kind of season he did last year and he's just like mediocre and Flowers mediocre again, I think there's a world where this team misses, especially if a team like the Blues or the Predators figures their shit out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Or we talked about Pacific Division. There's some teams in there that could get hot, and like the Flames and steal a spot from a team like this if they don't get their shit together.
I agree with you, Harry. I think they're a wild card team. I have a little bit higher concerns about the defense than I think you do, just because I think Goligoski, we're way over the hill at this point. We're kind of just hanging on by a thread. And honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say the same thing for Fleury. I think we're probably looking at last year, this year, which is, sad to say. Guy's a legend. He's been around for so long, but probably looking at last year. My big question with the forwards is Marco Rossi. What are we going to get from this guy? Hopefully we get him for a full season this time. I know he's had injury and health issues in the past. Glad to see he's slated to come back with this team. I don't know. You just don't know what you're going to get with a guy like that. If he turns out to be the stud that we've seen in the past and we've seen internationally, look out. But, once again, this is just one guy.
Yeah. They just got their whole center core, like Hartman, Eriksson, Gaudreau, Rossi. Like, it just doesn't, I don't love that.
It just kind of leaves something to be desired. It's not like they're bad, but it's just a little like, yeah, sure.
Well, I said I think they're a wild card team. Do you guys think that they will make the playoffs this season?
I also think they're a wild card team.
A total bubble team. I'm going to say no, just because I'm going to give myself room to maybe pick a different team later on.
Sure, understandable. Well, maybe it could be this team. I don't know. We'll see. But the Winnipeg Jets over-under set at 91.5 points this season. A year after just missing out on the playoffs by 8 points a season ago, the Jets snuck their way back in as the 8th seed. They got to play the Vegas Golden Knights, to which they lost to them in 5 games in the first round. Following that, the Jets are in a little bit of a retool. They let go of Blake Wheeler and Pierre-Luc Dubois. They did get Alex Iafallo and some other pieces to keep the team somewhat competitive. So who did they add? Just mentioned it, Iafallo. They also get Gabe Vilardi, Rasmus Kupari, and Laurent Brossoit, who is back. They lose Blake Wheeler, PLD, Sam Gagner, and Big Save Dave. I think the big question, Hellebuck. We've heard a bunch of trade rumors. I think he might have even said he's not happy with the team. This team's going nowhere if he leaves. What's the situation? What do you guys think?
I think it's well understood at this point, at least from what we've been hearing, that Scheifele and Hellebuck are on their way out after this year or at the deadline potentially.
Right. I mean, when you look at this team, like they on paper, they're pretty good. I mean, I like the second line that Daily Faceoff has a lot. Perfetti, Vilardi, and Iafallo. I think that's a great second line. And they've got some guys, like you said. I mean, if that first line plays the way they should, Kyle Connor, Scheifele, and Ehlers, that's nasty. But if Scheifele doesn't want to be there, I don't know how well he's going to play.
Or if Ehlers gets hurt again.
Right, unless Scheifele wants to play out of his mind so he can get traded. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions around this team. The D doesn't do it for me. I like Josh Morrissey. Pionk doesn't really do it for me personally. Brendan Dillon, I think, is washed. Capitals legend. Nate Schmidt, also Capitals legend. Good, but kind of streaky. And I don't know that he's like the best. He's fine. He's fine. You know what? Never mind. He's fine. But whatever. I got questions about this team. Hellebuck, if he's there all year, he's obviously a top caliber goalie. But if he leaves, they're left with Laurent Brossoit, who also isn't he on his second turn there now too?
He is. Yep,
Yeah.
he's back.
That's a really like go back to the start. Like holy
Sure.
fucking shit, I'm going back to Winnipeg. Wow.
Just
From
throw
there.
on a white bucket at that point. Like,
Yeah.
don't even paint it.
Yep, that's tough.
I think Morrissey's going to take another big step forward this year. I don't think it's too far out of the question in the next 2 or 3 years to start seeing his name in Norris conversations. And obviously that's dependent on if his point production goes up.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily hate the third line either. You got Niederreiter, their new captain, Adam Lowry, and then a good Spartan guy, Mason Appleton on the right wing. Sure. That's a typical Winnipeg Jets, like, fuck you, forecheck. Yeah, like big boys going into the corner to get the puck kind of hockey.
I like that.
Fourth line, I've got some questions about. You just don't know what you're gonna get. I feel like this forward group, like this forward group is what we've seen out of Winnipeg the past like 2 3 years. You know, you just see a bunch of forwards just thrown on a piece of paper.
Yeah, and they're like, I don't know, Nemesnikov, is that anything?
Right? You see a guy, sure.
Yeah.
I kind of love the top 6 though. I can't lie. I agree. Concerns a little bit about the bottom 6. Yeah, sure, maybe. That top 6 is pretty
nasty.
Good.
It's nasty. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think if they play their cards right, Velarde in 2 or 3 years could easily replace Scheifele.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Kyle Connor, I mean, we got to mention him. I think I saw this quote from Mike Rupp today. He is like an automatic, like 30-goal guy. Like, it's just like, it's like a dividend check every fucking year. Like, just 30 goals, 30 goals, 30 goals. He never misses. It's crazy.
Most underrated player in the NHL. I think he's up there.
I made sure to pick him in fantasy last year, and he did not disappoint. He's a great fantasy guy. Just Mr. Consistent.
Yep.
Morrissey, I agree. Same thing. I mean, really, like, what the fuck's gonna happen with Hellebuck? Like, that's the only thing I don't really know.
My thing is more that, like, okay, on paper, like I said, this team is pretty good. I have some questions, mostly with the D, whatever. But if this is a team where the attitude is like everyone knows that the best player and your star goalie like want out and may leave, I don't know what that does to like the like team. It could literally go one of 2 ways, in my opinion. It could just be a cancer and no one wants to play good because they're like, this fucking blows, or everyone's like, holy shit, this is our last year with Scheifele and Hellebuck. We got to win now. And they go off and they have a good year. I don't know.
Right, because you don't think those guys are wanting out if this team is in a legitimate playoff spot. Like, if they're hanging around like third in this division come the trade deadline, I don't think either of those guys get moved.
Yeah, probably not.
So, you know the next question I'm about to ask you guys. Playoffs or no? They were fringe last year.
I think they just missed this year.
I would probably agree.
I will also agree. I think Winnipeg is just going to miss out this year. Maybe like 9th or 10th place in the West.
I could see that.
All right. Let's move on to the next team, a team who wasn't in the playoffs last season, but is looking to sneak their way back in. The Nashville Predators. Despite a top 5 Vezina performance from Saros, the Preds were unable to make the playoffs last season after they made it the season before. They want to get back to the promised land, so they retooled by sending away Duchesne and Johansson while signing Ryan O'Reilly away from his hometown squad, the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Preds added Luke Schenn, Ryan O'Reilly, Gustav Nyquist, and Dennis Garyanov. They lose Matthew Shane, Ryan Johansson, and Cal Foote. They kind of overhauled their offense a little bit. I mean, 2 big pieces of that top 6 are gone. And then they bring in Ryan O'Reilly. They also have a new head coach in Andrew Brunette, who may be able to bring some magic that he had in Florida. I think they have a top 3 defenseman in the NHL in Roman Josi. What do you guys think the Preds are capable of doing this season? You think they can sneak in?
Listen, I have a lot to say about this team because it's the Milwaukee Admirals. Like, it's basically the Milwaukee Admirals at this point. I've seen a lot of these guys play in Milwaukee over the last year or 3. Luke Evangelista, stud. That guy is going to have a great year. I think.
Learn the name, know the name.
Straight up. I mean, put it this way: if Brunette was not their coach, and if Barry Trotz wasn't like, running things, I would have no problem writing this team off and being like, yeah, they've got potential. They'll be good again soon, but not this year. But that kind of worries me a little bit, like the Burnett and the Trotzy thing, because those are just guys that know how to win even when they maybe shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I'm like, yeah, maybe there's something more to this team. I mean, the goaltending, anytime you have a guy like Saros in between the pipes, you have a chance to be a good team pretty much. The D, I don't know, man. I mean, McDonough and Barry, those are guys
still good.
That's a second pairing that I would like love in like 2019.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love it in 23 to 24. The bottom six, even the second line. I mean, I love Evangelista, but he's new. He's gonna have to prove himself. The center depth does not do it for me. Ryan O'Reilly, Thomas Novak, Cody Glass, Colton Sissons does not do it for me.
Yeah.
I do think the Ryan O'Reilly thing is going to work out great because 9 times out of 10, unless you're the Leafs, it always does. I think he's going to
work. Yeah.
He's going to fit so well with that like identity in that city and this team. I think he's going to be like the number one fan favorite guy overnight other than Yossi. I agree with you on defense. I think I probably feel a little bit better about McDonough and Barry than you do. I think I've got some bigger concerns when it comes to that third pairing and maybe who's on the right with the first with Luke Shen. Just because I don't know what's left in that tank either.
I agree.
Goaltending, boys, how do we feel about this? Saros and Lankinen.
I mean, I got no problem with Saros. I think he's still pretty solid. I don't know much about Lankinen, if I'm being quite honest here.
The only thing that's making me nervous is the consistency thing. We've seen things from Saros where he's amazing and then things where it just does not look good at all. So who knows what we're going to get, especially with that defense in front of you.
I think their third line might be one of the weaker third lines in hockey right now. Parsonen, Cody Glass, Tomasino. I mean, that's just not good enough.
I will sum this team up in one sentence without doing a very elegant review. I don't know who's going to score goals.
Yeah, like literally.
It's a great way to put it.
Maybe some from Gus. Goose.
Yeah.
But like your sniper at this point is like Forsberg or Evangelista, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not buying the offense. I mean,
yeah, that's a great point, Harry.
That's all I really have to say.
Yeah.
I don't think they can score goals.
I want this team to be good, and I really went into this like wanting to be like, nah, the Burnett and the Trotz effect, but like I can't pick this team to make the playoffs.
That's the one thing though. Like, is that that's totally a thing, right?
Like they could
absolutely.
It is. Like Burnett is gonna go in there and be like, no one thinks you're shit. Like
these guys are going to start like 8-2 and absolutely just set this thing on fire too.
I know they probably are, but I just don't think it's sustainable. There's 82 games, boys. Like there's no way this team wins like
43 or more games.
Yeah, I mean, they might win half, but
46, 47 in regulation or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. It's like on paper, I can't say they're going to make it, but every time you say Burnett Trotz, I'm like, yeah, they're probably going to end up being like a really gritty team who like sneaks in at 8th. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to get in. And I think the next team we're going to talk about is why, to be honest.
Yeah, that's kind of what I keep thinking too. I have thoughts about that. A lot of thoughts.
So the next team we're going to talk about is the St. Louis Blues, whose team total over under is set at 86.5. Last year, not a good year. They fell off the wagon after reaching the playoffs for just the second time since 2012, the season before. St. Louis sat 9 points out of a playoff spot. They made massive moves to ship off franchise star Vladimir Tarasenko. Over the offseason, they get Kevin Hayes, which is an acquisition I love for them. I feel like that's going to be a good one.
Huge.
Oscar Sundqvist and Mackenzie McEachern, sure. They lose Tarasenko, Logan Brown, Thomas Christ, don't know how he's in the league, Josh Lievo, and Tyler Pitlick. Torrey Krug, will he be healthy this season? He's been dealing with a right foot injury for a while. The penalty kill was bad. And what's Binnington going to do? That's really the biggest question
Yikes.
mark.
Yeah.
What
See,
do you guys think?
I want to pick. We just said like because of this team, I want to pick this team to like sneak in, but the goaltending like upsets me so much. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take for people to like be ready to move on from Binner. I just don't think I don't think that's gonna work anymore.
I've been calling for this for 3 seasons now
I
on this
know.
podcast,
Yeah.
so you know I'm in agreement with you. What's that? Who's knocking at the door? Is that Connor Hellebuck I hear coming to save the St. Louis Blues?
Right.
This team. I want to love this team. I want to love this team so bad. I like the centerpieces. The wingers are pretty good especially if they can hit their full potential. The defense, honestly, is pretty solid. Like the top four.
Though? It sounds like defensively. I don't know if their D has enough offensive upside for me to be that excited. Like the second
Also,
pairing,
like,
sure, but like
is
Leddy
Justin
and
Falk good?
Parayko,
He's on the he is. He's just on the Blues.
Okay.
put it this way: Leddy, Parayko, Scandella, and Bortuzzo. That's 4 of their defensemen combined for less than 10 goals last season.
Ooh.
That's true. But I will give Leddy more credit than I think you will. And our former guest, Mr. Dean Peluso, has been very big on this guy after he left Long Island. He said he's one of the best. He said he's one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. I've seen numbers don't say that.
He can dish it, and he's defensively sound. But you
Hell of
have
a
to have
skater.
somebody on your blue line who can score goals. Do they?
Krug is the only one that I would say maybe.
Him and
that's if
Folk,
he's healthy.
one of them is going to have to do it, and I don't know if they will.
So that Nick, you go. Sorry,
I have some concerns about the bottom 6 too. I do love the Hayes move. If Ron is healthy, I think he's going to be an absolute star here if he gets a full season. I mean, Sammy Blais, we know what he can do. The other guys, I think maybe it's just a question of what are we going to get. And I think you can say that about Vrana and Blais as well.
Total Chimbis Schlempo as their left wing on the 4th line also.
Alexei Toropchenko.
Schlempo. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's like, okay, defense question mark, I'll give you that. Goaltending, huge question mark. But I will say this, if Binnington's even remotely like stable mentally and statistically, they can be very good.
I would agree. But that's a big if for me.
If he gets back to like 2019 Binner, look out. Like this team could do some damage. If they get into the playoffs, they can beat anyone.
What's crazy is that like after we finished talking about the Avalanche and the Stars, I was like, I got to decide which like one or maybe 2 teams in this division that I can like get behind and say are going to make the playoffs. I don't like any of them. I think they all kind of suck for their own special reason.
St. Louis is so like
the Wild will make the playoffs because I don't know about any of these fucking teams.
So like Vrana and Kapanen, they're the same kind of player, right? Like showed so much promise. I think Vrana was a 1st-round pick, right?
He was.
They're both huge prove it time right now.
And if they do, this team is going to be unbelievable.
Correct.
Because they have a extremely good, I would say, top 10 first line in the NHL. Second line's really solid, and I love Braden Shen. I love his game. So if those 2 guys can click, that offense is going to be one of the most lethal in the league.
They don't really have a superstar up front either. It's kind of just like a bunch of guys that can score 20 to 30 goals.
Yeah.
I think Bob Tom could get in that 80 to 90 range this year.
See, people say that about him. I feel like for the last like 2 years, and then it's either like an injury or he just like doesn't do quite as well as people thought he would.
This team does like going to sleep for like 2-week increments at a time too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a little bit of a Band-Aid. I will give you that, Mac.
Kyrou's a stud though.
Last season had 65 points. The year before had 77. So he's like kind of scratching that 80 to 90.
Kyrou's a stud, but I don't think he's like the kind of guy that can be like, I mean, he did have 37 goals last year, I guess.
He had a good year last year.
Yeah.
But again, I would much rather him be like your second best player, and then there's some superstar at center or something like that. It's just not a super traditional. I mean, he's probably their best player.
I swear to God, if you like snatch him from me in the draft again this year, I'm actually going to kill you.
We can chat.
So do the Blues make the playoffs? Yes or no?
No, man.
I don't fucking know. Like,
Why
I
you asking
totally
me?
agree
Because
with
we run a
Mac. Like
hockey podcast.
the further we go in this division, I'm like, shit. Like 4 of these teams are gonna make the playoffs.
Maybe. I mean, at least 3
At
of them
least
have
3.
to. That's why I'm like, fuck. I guess the Wild probably will.
All right.
All right, I'll be the guy to do it. I think that the St. Louis Blues will finish 3rd in this division this year, and I
Wow.
think they are
Whoa.
going to make the playoffs. There,
Okay.
I did it. Someone's
I mean-
got to be bold.
I mean, hey, it's if Binnington wants to play well, like you said, they totally could. But
That's the key.
I'm gonna fade you and say they miss.
And I don't blame you, but one of the main reasons, probably the biggest reason I'm saying this, I'm a huge Craig Berube guy. He's kind of that like Mike Sullivan cut from that kind of cloth world where there's no bullshit. And I think with a full season, a healthy Torrey Krug for a full season, you get Kapanen and you get Vrana, one of the two, at least if they start humming, and Binner is not a psychopath, they can do this. And I think Minnesota's going to go down. I think St. Louis is going to go up.
I think they miss by like 5 to 10 points.
Oof. Okay. This is going to be an interesting way that the season unfolds for them. So I'll have them making it. This next team, they probably got a really good chance at making the playoffs. The Arizona Coyotes over under at 76.5 points. The Arizona State Coyotes, honestly, last year, one of the bottom feeders of the league. They finished with the 6th worst record in the league and landed that same pick in the NHL draft where they selected defenseman Dmitry Simashev out of Russia. They lose Matt Dumba, they gain Matt Dumba, Alex Kerfoot, and Jason Zucker. They lose Andrew Ladd, happy retirement. Brett Ritchie, Patrick Nemeth, Mark Cottararo's worst player in the NHL by his definition. Zach Cassian and Christian Fisher. Clayton Keller had a 6 season last year. The rest of the team sucked. I don't really know what my question to you guys is for this team. So just tell me what you think.
They have awesome jerseys. We love that for them. I'm wearing one of them right now. The D is really bad in my opinion. The goalies, I love their goalies. I can't say enough about Karel Vmelka. I fucking love that guy. I think he's a beast. And usually he makes like 47 saves and they lose. So just something to think about if you're like a guy that likes to bet like over on saves or something like that. They give up an ass load of shots and he stops a lot of them. But he can't stop them all because
No, he can't.
it's just
Clearly.
it's unfair. But yeah, no, I like their goalie is Connor Ingram. I mean, Milwaukee Admirals legend right there too.
You can't stop them all.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Nick Bjugstad. That's another thing that you can say about them.
Best player in the league. Elite sniper.
But hey, their 4th line center is Capitals legend Travis Boyd.
Nick.
Beast.
There is a hockey team in Arizona and they're called the Coyotes.
Hell yeah.
That's
Love
pretty
that
much what I would say.
In all seriousness, I'm really excited to get to see Logan Cooley in the NHL.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a ton
Totally.
of fun. Same with Dylan Gunther. I think if we get a full season at those two guys together, this team will, it'll at least be, something entertaining to look at. And Lawson Krause, underrated 2 points like fantasy guy for me last year. He was like 2 points a game on the dot.
Hey, once they get Shea Weber healthy, they'll be killing it.
And Dasuk.
And Brian Little.
Yeah.
I think Hossa was in there too, right?
At some point, yeah.
One name that I will mention, I mean, we all know this team's going to blow, so I'm not really going to go too much in depth, but one name I will mention who was a streaky name last year once he got called up or was on the team, I'm not sure what the phrase is, Matias Maccelli.
Yeah.
He was good. He was very good for a good stint there. Second line with him, Cooley, and Zucker. Could be some magic there. Not a fun hockey team, but kind of a fun hockey team. I don't know.
Like the whole like college thing makes it fun.
And the young guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be kind of interesting, but yeah, I'm definitely not going to be flipping them on during intermission.
I mean, I'd rather watch them than the Wild, if that makes sense. Sorry, Terry.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I'm kind of in agreement with you. All right, let's move on from them. Not much to say there. Last but not least, the Chicago Bedards. The over-under is set at 71.5 points. We all know Kane Taves gone. That era in Chicago is over. They win the draft lottery, and they bring in the most hyped up prospect since Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard. They add him, Taylor Hall, Corey Perry, Nick Foligno, and Ryan Donato. They lose Taves, Kane, Caleb Jones, Alex Stalock, and Ian Mitchell. What can we expect from the Blackhawks? And then we will save the second half of our review strictly about Bedard.
Holy Chimbishlampo. There are like 3 guys on this team that I am like, that is a made up person. Lucas Reichel. Am I missing something, or is that guy like some stud that I should know about or something?
No, I don't think you're missing
Not
much
particularly.
Okay, cool. I'm going to save the best one for last. Wyatt Kaiser. I also have no idea who that is. Should I? Am I an idiot?
there. Big fan of his roles.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the best one. Kevin Korchinski. Kevin Korchinski. That is a player who Daily Faceoff thinks is their top pairing defenseman with Seth Jones. So
I think we just need to start off by saying that this team won't be making the playoffs for all you Blackhawk fans out there.
No, get
No,
real.
they will not.
I was gonna say they have a sick first line, but they don't, because it says that Lucas Reichel is there. Why is he there?
I don't know. I don't. I could see somehow like Perry maybe even getting slotted up there if
Right.
things go south.
I honestly, their second
Wouldn't
line,
Nick
you've
Foligno
got
be there?
second line,
What?
you've got Athanasio, Johnson, and Radish. I think that's a great third line on any other NHL team.
Yeah, I was gonna say that should be their third line, but that has to be their second line. Why do they have Nick Foligno on the fourth line? That is probably not how that's gonna go down.
This
The
really
goalies are like so unbelievably bad that it's like it's actually like making me a little bit upset.
this is
More
an
than
over
the
team.
Blues.
Yes, Peter
Okay.
Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom. Arvid.
This team screams over. Like it's just goals. I think this
Yeah.
is every game's like 5-3, 6-4.
They might get the number 1 pick again.
They're not they're not a very good team. I will say that they are not going to be a playoff team. It's going to be interesting to see Bedard in a struggling environment because he probably wins everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Bedard prop calculator here. I want to hear what you guys think about this. Connor Bedard over under regular season points right now on FanDuel is set at 67.5. What are your thoughts on that?
I say over. I think he gets 70.
Yeah, I think that's realistic, especially if he's playing a lot with Taylor Hall. That guy has been around, knows how to dish, knows how to score too. If Bedard's going to dish to him,
Yeah.
Connor Bedard regular season goals over under 31.5.
That's a tough one because
Yeah.
you never know with like super young guys, their first year. It is a really bad team. Like you said, he probably doesn't have experience playing for really bad teams.
And he's going to be their number 1 center. So he's going to have very, very tough matchups. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then I'll read the odds
for
the I'll read the odds for the Calder Trophy winner, Connor Bedard minus 120. That is very steep. Luke Hughes comes in second at plus 600. Logan Cooley in third at plus 1,300.
Wow.
Shane Wright makes an appearance in fourth at plus 2,000. And then I'll just read some other names right thereafter. Devin Levi, Adam Fantilli, Matthew Nyes, and Brent Clark.
What's Fantilli at?
Good question, because he's going to win it.
Fantilli is at plus 2,000.
Damn.
I mean, up.
If you think,
I wish his coach was somebody different, but
I'm just kind of looking at the list. Like obviously Bedard is the favorite there, but I don't know. Maybe Cooley could do it.
Yeah, he could.
Arizona's going to be tough for him to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't. It's really hard to do it on a team like that.
Like
actually,
Fantilli's going to be playing with Yeah, Fantilli's going to be playing with Line A and Gaudreau half the time.
True. That's very true.
So just think about all those power play points.
That's a very good point.
Matty Nyes plus 2,100, the Toronto market on a good team. I could totally see that happening.
That's a good one too. Plus he's already got at least 10 games of NHL experience with the playoffs.
If Shane Wright did it, that'd be a real good story.
Yeah.
All right. So rather than me asking you what you expect of the Blackhawks, let's just ask the question that everyone really wants to know the answer to. I'm going to make you guys pick a point total and a goal and assist total for Bedard. What do you think his stat line will be this year?
I think a right around 70 points is about right, like what you guys were saying, but I think maybe like 25 goals.
I think like 72 points, 28 of those are goals, and then math, whatever else is assists.
Yes, that sounds about right to me. Like just under 30 goals ish. Maybe he gets like 30, 31.
Because I think he's going to draw a lot of space like for himself, but I think he's then going to be able to throw it to Reichel or to Hall or to whoever else is on his wing. And
yes, Reichel.
Let's see here. All right, I'm going to go 84 points because he is going to play a lot because they're going to be down a lot. There's going to be a lot of empty nets.
That's
going to be hogging power play time. I'm going to go 80.
A lot of empty nets.
Well,
going the other way, yeah.
They're going to be.
He'll be defending a lot of them,
or trying to. He'll have an extra man on, is what I was trying to say. But I'll go 84 points. And I'll go 32 goals, which
that sounds fair. Yeah,
which would put him at 52 assists. That's
that's pretty good.
That would kind of be like a Malkin rookie year stat line, which I think he's in that range. We'll see. All right,
he was also literally 18 years old, just turned 12. 18 years old.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's got an insane wrist shot, and that's why I think
one of the best.
But he's also never had a fucking crunch wrap. I don't trust him.
Yeah. That's just weird.
They said he's never had fast food or something. I immediately am like, I don't think so, buddy.
Yeah, you don't buy it.
I saw shout out to
Chicago's such a healthy city, right?
Shout out to Noah hockey stick emoji on Twitter for after that news broke. He was like, I'm so glad that that Connor Bedard isn't the future of my franchise. I don't trust a guy who's never had a Baconator or whatever.
A Baconator,
yeah. That's pretty messed up.
Or no, it was I don't trust a guy who's never been in the drive-thru at 2 a.m. or something like that. That's fucked.
Hey, they say you got to have a guy who's been tested by adversity. He's never been tested by adversity through his butthole the morning after that. So
there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
That will wrap it up for our Central Division.
Wrap it up.
Oh, butter.
Very well done, Mac.
Thanks.
Just to recap real quick, who did you guys have winning the division?
I guess the Avalanche.
Nick's going Dallas,
baby.
I'm gonna go Colorado. I'll go Colorado. I think it'll be close. All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate the love and support as always, and that will wrap it up for our Central Division preview. Without further ado,
class dismissed.